The arena shook with the roar of 50,000 alien voices. Marcus Chun stood in the center of the massive fighting pit, blood dripping from his knuckles. Around him, the sandy floor was stained dark red. His opponent, a 10-foot-tall Karathan warrior covered in thick purple scales, lay still at his feet. Marcus could not believe it himself. He had just defeated Takmur the Destroyer, the tournament champion for the last 8 years. The crowd fell silent as the reality hit them. A human had won the Tournament of Champions. Impossible, whispered voices from the viewing boxes high above. Humans are weak. They have no natural weapons, no thick skin, no enhanced strength. Marcus wiped sweat from his forehead and looked up at the Emperor's box. The massive Karathan ruler sat frozen on his golden throne. His 6 eyes stared down in shock. Behind him stood his daughters and advisors, all equally stunned. The tournament announcer, a bird-like creature with bright blue feathers, struggled to find words. His voice cracked as he spoke into the amplifier. The winner of this year's Tournament of Champions is Marcus Chun of Earth. The crowd erupted into confused chatter. Some aliens cheered, mostly those from smaller worlds who rarely saw victory. Others sat in stunned silence. The major powers had ruled galactic politics for centuries. Humans were newcomers. Barely 50 years in space. Marcus had not expected to get this far. He was just a sergeant in the Terran Colonial Defense Force. His commander had entered him in the tournament as a joke. "Show these aliens what human spirit looks like," Captain Rodriguez had said with a laugh. "Even if you lose in the first round, make it memorable." But Marcus had not lost. He had studied his opponents carefully. While other species relied on brute strength or natural weapons, Marcus used his brain. He watched for patterns, found weaknesses, adapted his strategy for each fight. The Karathians were strong but slow to turn. The crystalline Vorthari could cut through armor but were brittle. The gas-breathing Nephilim were deadly in close combat but needed time to build momentum. Marcus learned to use speed, timing, and unexpected moves. Now he stood victorious. And according to ancient tournament law, he could claim any prize from the defeated champion's world. Emperor Korthuk finally stood. His massive form cast a shadow over the arena. When he spoke, his voice boomed like thunder. "Human warrior, you have earned the right of victory. Name your prize from the Karathian Empire." Marcus looked around the arena. Holographic displays showed possible rewards. Vast mining rights on asteroid belts, command of a fleet of warships, chests full of rare metals worth billions of credits. The Emperor's advisors whispered urgently, probably hoping the human would choose something simple. But Marcus had heard stories about tournament victories. The smart choice was always something that would benefit his people long term. Territory, trade rights, or military alliance would help humanity's position in the galaxy. He started to speak, then stopped. His eyes caught movement in the Emperor's box. A figure stood in the shadows behind the royal family. Unlike the other Karathians, this one was small and thin. When she stepped slightly into the light, Marcus saw why she stayed hidden. She was clearly one of the Emperor's daughters, but she looked nothing like her sisters. Where they were tall and muscular with gleaming scales, she was short and pale. Her scales were barely visible, giving her an almost human-like appearance. She watched the arena with intelligent eyes that seemed to see everything. Interesting, Marcus thought. He had noticed her during previous fights, always in the background, always watching. While others cheered or groaned at the combat, she took notes on a small device. She studied the fighters like a general studying a battlefield. Marcus made a decision that would change everything. "Emperor Korthuk," he called out, his voice carrying across the silent arena. "I choose Princess Zerakai as my prize." The silence that followed was deafening. Then the crowd exploded. "What?" The Emperor roared. "Which daughter do you mean?" "The one standing behind your throne, taking notes," Marcus replied calmly. Every eye turned to look at Princess Zarakai. She stepped back into the shadows, her face showing shock and something that might have been fear. The Emperor's advisors began talking rapidly. "Sire, he cannot mean her," one said. "She is. She has the weak blood. She brings shame to our warrior culture." "Perhaps the human does not understand," suggested another advisor. "We should explain that Princess Zarakai is not suitable for such an honor." But Marcus had made up his mind. He had watched her during the tournament. While others saw a weak, worthless princess, Marcus saw something different. He saw intelligence, curiosity, and a mind that understood strategy better than most generals. Emperor Korthik struggled with the situation. By law, he had to honor the tournament victor's choice. But giving away his most shameful daughter to an alien felt like adding insult to injury. "Human," the Emperor said slowly, "are you certain this is your choice? I have other daughters, strong warriors, who would bring you great honor. I have vast wealth and territory that would benefit your people greatly." "I am certain," Marcus replied. "I choose Princess Zarakai." The crowd began to boo and shout. Some threw objects into the arena. They could not understand why anyone would choose the weakest member of the royal family over treasure or power. Princess Zarakai herself looked confused and angry. She had spent her life being told she was worthless, a disappointment to her family and people. Now this strange human wanted her as a prize? It made no sense. "Very well," Emperor Korthik said finally. His voice carried centuries of disappointment and shame. "Princess Zarakai will accompany you to human space, as is your right by victory." Marcus nodded and walked toward the arena exit. Behind him, the crowd continued to shout and argue. Above, he could see Princess Zarakai being led away by guards, probably to prepare for the journey. As he reached the exit tunnel, Marcus smiled to himself. Everyone thought he had made a foolish choice. They saw weakness where he saw potential. They saw shame where he saw intelligence. Time would tell if he was right, but Marcus had learned long ago to trust his instincts. And his instincts told him that Princess Zarakai was far more valuable than anyone realized. 2 days later, Marcus stood in the royal palace waiting chambers. The walls were covered with paintings of great Carthian warriors. Each picture showed massive fighters with gleaming scales and fierce expressions. Marcus felt small among these images of alien strength and power. The door opened, and Princess Zarakai entered. She wore simple traveling clothes instead of royal robes. 2 guards followed her, carrying a single small bag. Marcus was surprised by how little she brought. "That is all?" Marcus asked, pointing at the bag. Princess Zarakai looked at him with cold eyes. "What did you expect? Treasure chests full of gold? I am not valued here, human. I own very little." Her voice was bitter, but Marcus heard intelligence beneath the anger. She spoke perfect galactic standard, better than most aliens he had met. Her words were chosen carefully. "I am Marcus Chun," he said, offering his hand in the human greeting. She stared at his outstretched hand for a moment, then reluctantly shook it. "I know who you are. The entire galaxy knows who you are. You are the human who somehow defeated our greatest champion." "And you are Princess Zarakai," Marcus replied. "The daughter who watches and learns while others just fight." She looked surprised. "You noticed that?" "I noticed many things. It is why I won the tournament." They walked toward the spaceport in silence. The streets were busy with Carthian citizens going about their daily lives. Many stopped to stare at the unusual pair. Some whispered to each other, shaking their heads. "They think you are crazy," Princess Zarakai said quietly. "Why?" "Because you chose the broken princess when you could have had anything else." Her voice was flat, like she was stating a simple fact. Marcus stopped walking. Who told you that you were broken? Everyone. My father, my sisters, the court advisors, the people. Look at me. She gestured to her small frame and pale scales. I am weak. I cannot fight. I cannot even lift the weapons my sisters use for practice. And what do you do instead? Princess Zerakai seemed confused by the question. I study. I read about military history, trade routes, political systems. I watch combat recordings and analyze fighting techniques. But these are not valued skills. They are valued by humans, Marcus said simply. She stared at him. You are strange, even for a human. They reached the spaceport where Marcus's ship waited. It was a small transport vessel, designed for long journeys, but not fancy. Princess Zerakai examined it with interest. Terran built, she observed. Modified engines for better fuel efficiency. Extra armor plating on the sides. You expect trouble during travel. Marcus was impressed. You know ships. I know many things that my people consider useless knowledge. As they boarded, Marcus showed her to the small passenger quarters. The room was simple but clean, with a bed, desk, and computer terminal. This will be your space for the journey to human territory, Marcus explained. It will take about 3 weeks. Princess Zerakai sat on the bed and looked around. Why did you choose me? She asked suddenly. I have been thinking about it for 2 days, and I cannot understand. Marcus sat in the chair across from her. What do you think I should have chosen? Mining rights to the Korath system. Control of 3 trade routes. Command of our 4th battle fleet. Any of these would have made humanity rich and powerful. And what would have happened then? She thought for a moment. The other major powers would have united against humanity. They would have seen you as a threat to the balance of power. Within 10 years, there would have been war. Exactly, Marcus said. I did not win that tournament to start a war my people could not win. But I am worthless to you, Princess Zerakai said. I bring no wealth, no military power, no political connections. You bring knowledge, Marcus replied. You understand how the galaxy works. You know the politics, the trade systems, the military strategies of dozens of species. That is more valuable than any treasure. Princess Zerakai looked at him like he was speaking a foreign language. Knowledge without power is nothing. I have spent 20 years learning about the galaxy, but no one listens to my ideas. Humans will listen. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. You do not understand. I am not just weak by Korathine standards. I am considered defective. My genetic condition makes me unsuitable for breeding, for leadership, for anything important. Marcus leaned forward. What if I told you that your condition might be an advantage? What do you mean? Your people value only physical strength. They ignore mental ability. But humans have learned that the mind is the greatest weapon. We conquered our world not because we were the strongest creatures, but because we were the smartest. Princess Zerakai was quiet for a long time. Finally, she asked, What do you want from me? I want you to help my people understand the galaxy better. Teach us about alien cultures, political systems, military techniques. Help us find our place among the stars without making enemies of everyone. And in return? In return, you get to be valued for what you can do, not judged for what you cannot do. She studied his face carefully. You really believe I can be useful? I know you can be. Princess Zerakai stood and walked to the small window. Outside, they could see the Korathine capital city spreading toward the horizon. Soon she would leave this world, probably forever. My father was relieved to be rid of me, she said softly. He called it making the best of a bad situation. He told the court that at least my shame would no longer reflect on the royal family. Marcus felt anger rise in his chest. Your father is a fool. She turned to look at him, surprised by his tone. Any leader who wastes intelligence is a bad leader, Marcus continued. Your people have been stagnant for centuries because they only value one type of strength. They are so focused on muscle that they ignore brain. And humans are different? Humans use every advantage we can find. We adapt, we learn, we change. It is why we survived on our dangerous world, and it is why we will survive in this dangerous galaxy. Princess Zerakai was quiet for several minutes. When she spoke again, her voice was different, stronger. If I help you, she said, I want to be treated as an equal, not as a prize you won in a tournament. Marcus smiled. I was hoping you would say that. Then we have an agreement. As the ship lifted off and left Corinthian space behind, Princess Zerakai watched her homeworld shrink in the distance. For the first time in her life, she felt something she had never experienced before: hope. 1 week into their journey, Marcus discovered that Princess Zerakai was full of surprises. She had taken over the ship's navigation computer and improved their route efficiency by 15%. She had also reorganized the food supplies to last longer and taste better. Where did you learn to cook? Marcus asked, eating what she called improved protein rations. I studied the nutritional needs of different species, she replied. When you spend your life being ignored, you have plenty of time to read about everything. They had fallen into a comfortable routine. Each morning, Marcus would exercise in the small cargo bay, while Princess Zerakai worked on the computer systems. In the afternoons, they would talk about their different worlds and cultures. Marcus learned that Princess Zerakai knew more about human history than most humans. She had studied Earth's military conflicts, political systems, and technological development. She understood things about his own people that he had never considered. Your species is remarkable, she said one day as they shared a meal. In just 50 years of space travel, you have made contact with over 30 alien species. Most races take centuries to expand that far. We are curious, Marcus said. Humans like to explore. It is more than that. You adapt quickly to new situations. Most species become set in their ways. They do the same things for thousands of years. But humans change and grow. Princess Zerakai had also begun to change. Away from her family and their constant criticism, she seemed more confident. She spoke up more, shared her ideas freely, and even smiled occasionally. On the 10th day, everything went wrong. Marcus was in the engine room checking the power systems when the ship's alarms began screaming. He ran to the bridge where Princess Zerakai was studying the sensor displays. 3 ships, she reported calmly. Unknown design, but heavily armed. They are demanding we stop for inspection. Marcus looked at the screen. The ships were sleek and dangerous looking. Pirates? Worse. These are military vessels, but not from any government fleet I recognize. Princess Zerakai's fingers moved quickly over the controls. They are jamming our communications and closing fast. Can we outrun them? She shook her head. They are faster and have better weapons. If we try to run, they will destroy us. Marcus thought quickly. What do they want? Unknown. They are ordering us to prepare for boarding. The first ship attached to their hull with a loud clang. Marcus heard cutting tools beginning to work on the airlock. They had maybe 5 minutes before the attackers broke through. Is there anything useful in the cargo bay? He asked. Princess Zerakai checked the manifest. Mostly personal supplies. Some spare parts. And your tournament weapons. Marcus ran to get his gear while Princess Zerakai sealed the bridge. When he returned, she had pulled up the ship's blueprints on her screen. The main corridor leads directly here, she said, pointing. They will expect resistance at the bridge entrance. But there is a maintenance shaft that connects to the engine room. If you can reach it, good thinking. What about you? I stay here and monitor their movements through the ship's sensors. I can guide you through the comm system. Marcus grabbed his weapons and headed for the maintenance shaft. As he crawled through the narrow space, Princess Zarakai's voice came through his earpiece. 4 attackers. They are moving carefully toward the bridge. 2 more coming through the cargo bay. Marcus reached the engine room and positioned himself behind a large power converter. Through the open doorway, he could see armored figures moving down the corridor. Marcus, Princess Zarakai whispered through the comm. I have been studying their equipment. Those are not standard pirate weapons. This is military-grade gear, but with identification marks removed. Someone does not want to be recognized, Marcus replied quietly. The first attacker entered the engine room. Marcus waited until the figure passed his hiding spot, then struck quickly. The attacker went down silently. Marcus took his weapon and armor scanner. 1 down, he reported. Good. The others are at the bridge door now. They are trying to cut through. Marcus moved carefully through the ship. Using Princess Zarakai's guidance, he avoided the main group and picked off isolated attackers one by one. Her ability to track everyone through the ship's sensors was invaluable. Marcus, I have bad news, she said as he dealt with the 4th attacker. I broke through their communication encryption. They are not here to rob us. What do they want? Us. Specifically, they want us dead. Marcus felt cold. Orders from who? Unknown. But they mentioned that the human and the princess cannot be allowed to reach Terran space. Marcus reached the corridor outside the bridge. 2 attackers were still trying to cut through the reinforced door. He could hear Princess Zarakai inside, working at the computer. Zarakai, can you open the emergency vents in the corridor? Yes, but why? Just do it on my signal. Marcus pulled a gas grenade from his belt, a non-lethal weapon designed to confuse enemies. He threw it down the corridor and called out, Now! The vents opened, creating a powerful air current that spread the gas quickly. The 2 attackers were caught off guard. Marcus moved in while they were disoriented and took them down. Bridge is secure, he reported. All attackers neutralized, Princess Zarakai confirmed. But Marcus, we have a bigger problem. I detected a signal burst just before the attack. Someone else knows our location. Marcus entered the bridge to find Princess Zarakai studying the captured communication logs. Her face was pale. This was not a random pirate attack, she said. Someone hired these people specifically to stop us. The orders came from inside the Galactic Confederation government. Why would the Confederation want us dead? Princess Zarakai showed him the decoded messages on her screen. Because we represent something they fear. A human who can defeat their champions, working with an alien who understands their weaknesses. They see us as a threat to the established order. Marcus sat down heavily. We cannot trust anyone. No, we cannot. But I have an idea. She turned to face him. We change course. Instead of going directly to Terran space, we go to New Haven first. Why New Haven? Because it is a frontier world where humans and aliens work together. If someone is trying to stop us, they will expect us to go to the main human colonies. New Haven is off their expected route. Marcus thought about it. That adds a week to our journey, but it might keep us alive. Princess Zarakai looked at him seriously. Marcus, I think this conspiracy goes deeper than just stopping us. Someone wants to prevent humans from gaining influence in galactic politics. Then we make sure they fail. As they changed course toward New Haven, Marcus realized something important had happened during the attack. Princess Zarakai had not hidden or panicked. She had stayed calm, gathered information, and helped plan their defense. She had proven herself a true partner. Thank you, he said. For what? For having my back during the fight. For thinking clearly under pressure. For being exactly the kind of ally humanity needs. Princess Zarakai smiled, and for the first time, it was a smile of genuine confidence. "We make a good team," she said. Marcus could not argue with that. New Haven was exactly what its name suggested, a place where different species could start fresh. The space station orbited a beautiful blue planet where human colonists worked alongside alien refugees and traders. As their ship docked, Marcus felt some of the tension leave his shoulders. "It is not what I expected," Princess Zerakai said, looking through the port window at the mixed crowds below. "What did you expect?" "Something more military. Most human colonies I have read about are heavily defended." Marcus smiled. "New Haven is different. It was built by civilians, not soldiers. People who wanted to prove that different species could live together peacefully. They made their way through the docking bay, drawing curious stares but no hostile attention. Marcus led them to a small cafe where he had arranged to meet an old friend. Commander Sarah Walsh was waiting for them at a corner table. She was a small, tough woman with graying hair and intelligent eyes. When she saw Marcus, she stood and gave him a quick hug. "Marcus-chan, you crazy fool," she said with a grin. "You have caused quite a stir in the galaxy. Sarah, meet Princess Zerakai of the Korathian Empire." "Zerakai, this is Commander Walsh. She runs intelligence operations for the Colonial Defense Force." Princess Zerakai offered her hand in the human greeting she had learned. Commander Walsh shook it while studying her carefully. "So you are the princess everyone thinks Marcus was crazy to choose," Sarah said. "I have to say, you are not what I expected either." "What did you expect?" Princess Zerakai asked. "Someone weak and helpless. Instead, I see someone who looks like she could handle herself in a fight." Marcus filled Sarah in on their attack and what they had discovered about the conspiracy. As he talked, Sarah's expression grew more serious. "This is worse than we thought," Sarah said when he finished. "We have been tracking unusual activity in the Confederation government for months. Someone has been working to limit human expansion and influence." "Who?" Princess Zerakai asked. "We do not know yet, but we think it involves several of the major powers working together. They see humanity as a threat to the balance they have maintained for centuries." Sarah pulled out a small data pad and showed them intelligence reports. Trade agreements have been mysteriously canceled. Human diplomats have been recalled for safety reasons, and now they are trying to eliminate you two directly. Princess Zerakai studied the reports with growing interest. "May I?" she asked, reaching for the datapad. Sarah looked at Marcus, who nodded. Princess Zerakai scrolled through the information quickly, her eyes moving fast as she absorbed the details. "This pattern," she said suddenly. "I have seen this before. During the Vorthok Rebellion, 300 years ago, the major powers used similar tactics to isolate and eliminate a rising threat." "How do you know about that?" Sarah asked, impressed. "I studied every major galactic conflict for the past 500 years. This conspiracy is using the same playbook that worked against the Vorthok." Marcus leaned forward. "What happened to the Vorthok?" "They were destroyed," Princess Zerakai said grimly. "But they made one crucial mistake. They tried to fight the conspiracy directly. They saw it as a military problem instead of a political one." Sarah was taking notes now. "What would you do differently?" Princess Zerakai thought for a moment. "The conspiracy depends on secrecy. If we could expose who is involved and what they are planning, their support would collapse. Most Confederation worlds do not want war. They just want stability and profit. How do we expose them? We need proof. Hard evidence that the major powers are working together to eliminate humanity. And we need to present that evidence in a way that cannot be ignored or covered up." Marcus had an idea. "The Galactic Council meeting. It happens next month on Nexus Station. Every government sends representatives." "Perfect," Princess Zerakai said, getting excited. If we could present evidence there, in front of everyone, we would need to get there alive first, Sarah pointed out. And we would need evidence that proves the conspiracy beyond doubt. Princess Zerakai was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then she smiled, and Marcus recognized the look. She had a plan. I know where we can find that evidence, she said. But it will be dangerous. Where? Marcus asked. Korath Prime, my home world. Sarah looked confused. Why would evidence of the conspiracy be there? Because my father is part of it, Princess Zerakai said quietly. I have been thinking about his reaction when Marcus chose me as his prize. He was not just embarrassed. He was afraid. Marcus understood immediately. He knew something was supposed to happen to me. Exactly. When Marcus won the tournament, it disrupted their plans. They probably intended for Thakmer to kill him during the fight. When that failed, they had to improvise. Sarah shook her head. Going back to Korathian space would be suicide. They will kill you both the moment you arrive. Not if we are careful, Princess Zerakai said. I know secret ways into the Imperial Palace. My father keeps his private communications in a secure vault. If we can access those files, we would have proof of the conspiracy, Marcus finished. They spent the next hour planning the operation. It would require perfect timing and a lot of luck. They would need to get past Korathian security, break into the Imperial Palace, steal classified information, and escape before anyone discovered them. This is insane, Sarah said finally. It is our only chance, Princess Zerakai replied. If we do nothing, the conspiracy will eventually succeed in destroying humanity's future in space. Marcus looked at both women. I am in, but I will not ask anyone else to risk their life for this. You are not asking, Princess Zerakai said firmly. I am volunteering. This is my family, my people, my responsibility to fix. Sarah sighed. Well, someone has to keep you two from getting killed. I suppose that someone is me. They spent 2 more days preparing. Sarah arranged for a fast ship and special equipment. Princess Zerakai studied the latest intelligence about palace security. Marcus practiced breaking and entering techniques with alien technology. On the night before they left, Marcus found Princess Zerakai sitting alone in the observation deck, looking out at the stars, having second thoughts. He asked. No, she said. I was thinking about how strange life is. A month ago, I was the worthless daughter nobody wanted. Now I am planning to save the galaxy. You were never worthless, Marcus said, sitting beside her. Your family just could not see your value. And you could? Marcus nodded. Humans have learned to value intelligence over strength. It is one of the things that makes us different. Princess Zerakai was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, what happens after? If we succeed, if we stop the conspiracy, what then? Then you help my people learn to be better neighbors in this galaxy. And us? What happens between us? Marcus looked at her, seeing not the scorned princess, but the brilliant woman who had become his partner. That depends on what you want. She smiled. I want to be where I can make a difference. Where my ideas matter. Where I am valued for who I am. Then you stay with humanity. We can always use good minds and brave hearts. As they prepared for the dangerous mission ahead, Marcus realized that choosing Princess Zerakai had been the best decision of his life. She had become far more than an ally. She had become the key to humanity's future among the stars. The infiltration of the Korathian Imperial Palace went perfectly until everything went wrong at once. Princess Zerakai had led Marcus and Commander Walsh through secret passages she remembered from childhood. They reached Emperor Korthik's private vault without being detected. The security systems recognized her genetic signature and allowed them access. Unbelievable, Walsh whispered as they downloaded files from the Emperor's personal computers. Your father kept records of everything. The evidence was overwhelming. Communications between leaders of 6 major galactic powers, detailed plans to eliminate human influence, and orders for the assassination of key human figures including Marcus himself. The conspiracy went back years, triggered by humanity's rapid expansion into space. They have been planning this since humans first reached the outer colonies, Princess Zerakai said, reading the files. My father and the others saw humanity as a virus that needed to be stopped before it spread too far. Marcus felt sick reading the details. The attack on their ship was just the beginning. The conspiracy planned to destroy human colonies, assassinate diplomats, and blame it all on pirate raids or alien extremists. We have enough, Walsh said. Let us get out of here. That was when the alarms started screaming throughout the palace. They know we are here, Princess Zerakai said, her face pale. Someone must have detected our presence. Armed guards were already moving toward their location. The secret passages would be watched now. Their escape route was cut off. There is another way, Princess Zerakai said. The emergency transport system. It leads directly to the palace communications center. Why would we want to go there? Marcus asked as they ran through corridors filled with flashing lights and alarm sounds. Because from there, we can broadcast this evidence to the entire galaxy. They fought their way through the palace, using Marcus's combat training and Princess Zerakai's knowledge of the building's layout. Walsh provided covering fire while they moved between defensive positions. The communications center was heavily guarded, but it was also their only chance. If they could broadcast the evidence before being captured, the conspiracy would be exposed even if they died in the process. There, Princess Zerakai pointed to a control console that can reach every communication network in known space. Marcus and Walsh held off the guards while Princess Zerakai worked frantically at the controls. Outside, they could hear more troops arriving. Soon they would be overwhelmed. Almost ready, Princess Zerakai called out. I just need to bypass the security protocols. An explosion rocked the building. Through the windows, Marcus could see ships landing in the palace courtyard. More enemies or possibly rescue. Marcus! A familiar voice called through the smoke. Where are you? It was Captain Rodriguez, Marcus's commanding officer, leading a team of human soldiers. Somehow the Colonial Defense Force had tracked them down. Here! Marcus shouted back. Cover the princess. Rodriguez's team secured the communications center just as Princess Zerakai finished her work. Broadcasting now, she announced. The evidence is going out on all channels. Across the galaxy, beings of every species watched in shock as the conspiracy was revealed in full detail. The secret communications, the assassination plans, the plot to destroy human civilization, everything was exposed. Emperor Korthik himself appeared in the communications center, his massive form filling the doorway. His 6 eyes burned with rage as he looked at his daughter. You have betrayed your own people, he growled. I have saved them, Princess Zerakai replied, standing straight and unafraid. This conspiracy would have brought war to the entire galaxy. Billions would have died for your pride. You are no daughter of mine. Good, she said calmly. I choose my own family now. The Galactic Council emergency session was held within days. Representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered to discuss the revelations. The evidence was too clear to deny or ignore. Marcus and Princess Zerakai testified before assembly. They told their story from the beginning. The tournament victory, the unexpected choice, the journey that revealed the conspiracy. The accused species claimed this is a human trick, one council member said. They say the evidence has been falsified. Then let them submit to independent investigation, Princess Zerakai replied. Let neutral parties examine their communications and records. Truth does not fear scrutiny. The investigation that followed confirmed everything. The conspiracy collapsed as member species withdrew their support. Several governments fell as their people demanded new leadership. Emperor Korthuk was removed from power by his own military, who refused to follow a leader who had brought such shame to their empire. Princess Zarakai's eldest sister became the new empress and immediately opened negotiations with humanity for a full alliance. "You could return home now," Marcus told Princess Zarakai as they watched the political changes unfold. "Your sister has offered to make you an official ambassador." "I am home," she replied. "I am going where my work matters most." The new galactic order that emerged was different from what had come before. Instead of a few major powers controlling everything, smaller species were given real voices in galactic affairs. Trade was opened more freely. Scientific cooperation increased. Humanity found itself not as conquerors, but as mediators, helping different species work together. Marcus became the first human ambassador to the Galactic Council. Princess Zarakai served as his chief advisor, using her knowledge to help humanity navigate complex alien politics. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked him one evening as they worked late in their embassy office. "Choosing me instead of treasure or territory?" Marcus looked at the woman who had become his partner in every way that mattered. She was no longer the scorned princess hiding in shadows. She was confident, respected, and valued by beings across the galaxy. "Never," he said. "You were the greatest treasure the galaxy had to offer. I just had to be smart enough to recognize it." Princess Zarakai smiled. "Humans do have a talent for seeing potential where others see only problems. Is that why you chose to stay with us?" "Partly, but mostly because you make me want to be the best version of myself." Outside their office windows, ships from dozens of worlds traveled peacefully through space. The galaxy was changing, becoming more open and cooperative than it had been in centuries. Marcus thought back to that moment in the arena, when he had made his unexpected choice. Everyone had called him crazy for choosing the least respected alien princess as his prize. Now he knew the truth. He had not chosen a prize at all. He had chosen a partner, an ally, and the key to a better future for all species in the galaxy. And in return, Princess Zarakai had chosen him as well, not as her master, but as her equal. Together, they had changed the course of galactic history, not through conquest or force, but through understanding and cooperation. It was perhaps the most human thing of all, finding strength in diversity and power in partnership. As they worked side by side, planning humanity's next steps among the stars, Marcus could not help but smile. The human soldier had indeed chosen wisely, and the scorned alien princess had proven that sometimes the most unexpected choices lead to the most extraordinary outcomes. The galaxy was a bigger, more dangerous place than either of them had imagined when they first met. But it was also full of possibilities, and together they would help humanity and its allies explore them all.